Hello, welcome and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, race fans. Here we are in Brno on Masaryk Circuit. The racing pride of the Czech Republic opened in 1987 and the longest Czech racing circuit with the length of 5,000 plus 400 meters. We are going to start a beautiful race weekend here in Brno at the early September with some late summer weather, I hope, for the weekend. And we are going to open this traditional event, Masaryk Racing Days, with the first race of the Formula Division 2 Racing Series, which means we are going to celebrate the older cars, originally, for example, from Euro Formula Open or from W Series, which is no longer here, unfortunately, but the cars are still capable of racing, and that's why we have a championship like this one, the Formula Division 2 Series. We do have a full starting grid of the first race with 21 cars on the grid, and it is the Hungarian driver with number 1, Benjamin Berta, starting from the pole position with his car Dallara F320. So that's the poleman and also the poleman of the F3 Cup. Previously you've seen the local Czech hero Václav Šafář starting from the 5th place here in Brno. And this is the starting grid. As I said, Benjamin Berta behind the wheel of his beautiful Dallara F320 on pole position with number 1. Next to him, Sandro Zeller, the Swiss driver with a bit older Dallara F308, starting in the F3 trophy class. Then we do have Kurt Bähler starting from the 3rd place, that's number 11. And Kurt Böhlen, the Swiss driver, is racing with Dallara F312, also in the F3 Cup, just as the poleman Benjamin Berta. And the P4, after the qualifying, goes to Andrea Benali, racing with number 14. Andrea Benali, of course, as you may know, is the Italian racer, and he's the owner of the Dallara F317, also starting in F3 Cup. So these are the 2 rows on the starting grid of the first race of the Masaryk Racing Days here in Brno. Previously I said that Sandro Zeller is racing with Dallara F308 and, excuse me, actually it is Dallara F312, also racing in F3 Cup, so apologies for a small mistake. It's still early in the morning actually, but I believe we are going to have a thrilling race on this beautiful racetrack, the home of MotoGP Grand Prix in the Czech Republic, and that's the reason why all the drivers just love the Brno circuit this year. You're asking why. The reason is we do have a new tarmac across the whole racing track, which is so smooth that basically we've smashed all the lap records in MotoGP this year. So the new tarmac here in Brno is just astonishing, and it only helps racing and it only brings more excitement for the racing fans here in Brno. The nice view of the starting grid with the bikes slots, as you can see, but of course with the larger slots for Formula cars, open wheels and GT sports car. And all of these categories we are going to witness on the racetrack this weekend. The program on the racetrack today has started with the qualifying of the FIA GT Cup Series, which is the Central European Zone Championship for the GT cars, Cup cars and prototype cars starting in a special class. So the racing line has been dried out a bit, but as you can see we still do have some humidity on the racetrack, which means it is going to be, I believe, a tricky race actually. As you saw a few moments ago, Benjamin Berta will be starting the race on the slicks. So, of course, we only believe that the track will dry out during the first race of the weekend. But if you go off the ideal racing line, you may have some struggles with the grip and with the tires. So that's why I'm saying that it will be a tricky race. So everybody needs to be cautious this morning, and everybody needs to avoid going across the wet parts of the track. Here you can see the right side of the racetrack is a bit wet, but we do not expect any more rain today, so it should be a nice sunny day full of beautiful racing here in Brno. So we have less than 2 minutes to the race start, actually. And of course we also have the Czech drivers on the grid. I have already mentioned Václav Šafář starting the race from the 5th place with number 98 on his beautiful Delara F320, also racing in F3 Cup. And it's really good to see Václav Šafář back on the grid, because he is the previous champion of the Central European zone, and this is definitely his home track. He knows Brno so well, and I believe he's ready to put on some great show for the fans here this morning. The grandstands are starting to be packed. We expect a much larger number of spectators over the weekend, because, as I said, the Masaryk racing days are very traditional racing event here in the Czech Republic, in South Moravia respectively. So we are going to have some thrilling races with exciting atmosphere on the grandstands and also on the green hills around the racing circuit. Let's go to the formation lap. So as usually, the formation lap has started behind the safety car, and as I said, we should have 21 cars on the grid in total. The racing field is splitted between several classes, and of course the racers in the F3 Cup class should be going for the overall victory, but also for the other drivers starting with less powerful cars. It is also very important to finish as high as possible to possibly claim the class win in this race. So yes, we do have a field of single seaters, but it is divided into several classes. Once again, the Hungarian driver Benjamin Berta starting from the pole position with number 1 on his Delara F320, and he is also the leader of F3 Cup. Next to him on the front row, it is the Swiss driver Sandro Zeller starting with number 44 under Jo Zeller Racing, and Sandro Zeller is there behind the wheel of the Delara F312. Third place on the grid goes to number 11, who is another Swiss driver, Kurt Böhlen, starting with Delara F312, just as the other Swiss guy, Sandro Zeller. From the 4th place, it will be the Italian driver Andrea Benali, starting the race with number 14 on his Delara F317. 5th place on the grid, as I said previously, goes to the Czech local hero Václav Šafář, starting with number 98 on his Dallara F320 of family run GT2 Motorsport. Next to him in the third row there is Dino Racero, starting with number 8, another Italian racer behind the wheel of Dallara F320, racing for Pure Motorsport. And here we are back on the main straight again. As you can see, the safety car is still on the track, and the countdown is on, which means the race has officially started. So the race has started behind the safety car. Originally, the race was planned for 25 minutes, but as it has started already, we now have 21.5 minutes to go, as you can see on the top of your screen. So one more lap, at last, one more lap behind the safety car before we go green here in Brno. So we can also explore the track a bit. As I told you, it's the longest Czech racing circuit if we are speaking about the permanent racing tracks, of course. 5,403 meters. That's the length of Masaryk Circuit here in Brno. It has 14 curves in total, and this is actually the straight from the 4th to the 5th corner, then a short straight to the 6th and 7th. This is the most famous place of the Masaryk Circuit here in Brno. It's called the Stadium with the sea grandstand, the most popular place between the fans here in Brno, definitely. Always packed for MotoGP, and in previous years also, for example, for WTCC, GT1 World Championship, and also DTM. So it's very, very rich history of this racing track. Here we are in the turn number 11. So this is the chicane of turns 11 and 12. Then we climb up to the turn 13 to the left hand side, and then it is only the turn 14 to the right hand side which leads the field back to the main straight. And as you can see, the safety car turned the lights out, which means we will go green in a few moments. Safety car enters the pit lane, and we are waiting for the green flag. The green is out, and now it's the call of Benjamin Berta, the leading driver, waiting for the right moment to put the throttle to the metal and start to push. Here we go, the green flag is out, and we are racing for the first time here in Brno this weekend. We are racing for the first time during the Masaryk Racing Days 2025. And it is the Hungarian driver Benjamin Berta leading the field into the first corner. Some battles behind him, but it was very good starting reaction done by the Hungarian in the lead. It is the number 44 still behind him, which means Sandro Zeller still in the second place. Behind Sandro Zeller, it is another Swiss racer with number 11, Kurt Böhlen. Behind him it is number 14, who is Andrea Benali, and behind Benali we have Václav Šafář, the Czech local hero, the Czech racer, the former Central European Zone champion. So I'm curious, what is he capable of today? And as you could see, there already was a close battle between the two drivers in 4th and 5th place respectively. And this is another battle We are going down to the apology, to the 10th corner, of course, here. And let's wait for the top drivers. Benjamin Berta already with a decent gap between him and Sandor Zeller. So we have the closest battle up in the front between the Italian driver Andrea Benali and the Czech racer Václav Šafář. So I'm curious if Václav Šafář is going to try something. Here we are. These are the two drivers I'm talking about. Andrea Benali up in the front ahead of Václav Šafář. We are in the 4th lap of the race. Behind Šafář it is Stig Larsson, and then we have a big group of drivers which is being led by the British driver Lee Cunningham, and behind him it is Andrea Petropoulos, Enzo Centella and Marcel Tobler. So there is a large group of 4 drivers, at last 4 drivers, fighting for the 7th place. Still 16 minutes to go, still plenty of time to try something, and Václav Šafář is, I would say, getting closer and closer to Andrea Benali, driving just ahead of him. Benjamin Berta was the fastest driver on the track last time around. He set the best time 1:52.1, which means he was quicker over 1 second. If we compare his lap time and the lap time of Sandor Zeller in the 2nd place. So a decent job by Benjamin Berta. But I'm still curious about the 2 drivers fighting for the 4th place here. This is the battle for 9th place, actually, with the German driver Andrea Petropoulos trying to be defensive, with the Italian Enzo Stella closely behind him. So this is potentially a fight for the 9th place. Now Andrea Petropoulos is in the 8th place. So he managed to overtake Lee Cunningham. So Andrea Petropoulos is now in 8th place, Lee Cunningham in 9th behind him, Enzo Stella in 10th place. And then we've got Marcel Tobler in P11. Meanwhile, up in the front, Benjamin Berta set another fastest lap of the race. This time it was 1:50.3. So he goes another second quicker than in the previous lap. So Benjamin Berta is doing a tremendous job here in Brno during the first race of Masaryk Racing Days 2025. And if we compare the lap times between Andrea Benali in 4th and Václav Šafář in 5th, I must say that Václav Šafář was quicker last time around by 0.2 of a second, but still he is behind Andrea Benali. The gap between them is 0.4 of a second. So Václav Šafář is almost in the striking position, but not yet. And also look at this battle here. One of the cars with green, white and red, that's former Effective Racing car. Nice battle between these 2 drivers with 13 minutes to go. And this was the straight between turns 9 and 10. And the battle is still going on between these 2 drivers. So the driver behind the wheel of the former Effective Racing car, that actually should be Masaryk in the fight with Nicolas Leffler, 17th and 18th place respectively. There are very close gaps between the drivers in the second half of the field. And for number 31, it's important to finish the race as high as possible in F Trophy class. So the group of drivers we are watching here, these are Christoph Lederman in P16, Masaryk in P17, Nicolas Leffler in P18 and Luca Iannaccione in P19. So nice battle of 4 cars in the second half of the field. Now look at the battle between Leffler and Iannaccione. So these two cars, these two drivers are fighting each other for the 18th place at the moment with 10 minutes to go. Meanwhile, up in the front, Benjamin Berta leading the race with the gap over 5 seconds between him and Sandro Zeller. Kurt Bellen in P3 ahead of Andrea Benali, who is still ahead of Václav Šafář, and the gap between these two is a bit larger this time, almost 0.6 of a second between Andrea Benali and Václav Šafář. So Václav Šafář is not getting closer to the Italian opponent. So right now he's definitely not in the striking position. But let's wait and see. We still have 9 minutes and 50 seconds to go in this race. And we are still following this group of cars. This time Masaryk pulled away from Luca Iannaccione. So it's a safe 17th place now for number 31. Again, here we are on the stadium, the Sea Grandstand, the most famous place of Brno circuit. And here we have the closer look at Masaryk, the French driver racing behind the wheel of number 31. Number 31 FR 2.0 Tatus. So this time we are not looking at the Dallara, but at Tatus car. Basically, if you follow motorsport and car racing and open wheel racing closely, you know very well that both Dallara and Tatus are very famous chassis producers. The Dallara is making the cars, not only the cars, but of course also the chassis, not only for single seaters, but also for hypercars. For example, the current BMW M Hybrid V8 is based on Dallara chassis, but we also have many Formula cars based on Dallara, and for me, of course, the most famous is the IndyCar in the United States of America. So the most famous American open wheel series actually has a close technical partnership between the promoter and the Italian manufacturer, which is producing the chassis for these cars for long years, actually, for long years. And we do expect the new car for IndyCar to be introduced maybe for 2027 or possibly for 2028 season. So a lot of work for Dallara engineers at the moment, but still it's also very nice to see these older Dallara cars still racing on the circuits, and that's basically the main purpose for the championship like this one, for the championship like Formula Division 2, because it's a great series for mostly the gentleman drivers to race their cars which they have bought from the racing teams, for example racing in the Euro Formula Open 5 or 4 years ago. So thanks to them these cars are still alive, still quick, and still so much fun to drive. And of course I also mentioned the tattoos chassis maker. For example, I do remember the Formula Renault Euro Cup, which was the successor of the Formula Renault, and guess who has started the open wheel career in Europe in Formula Renault Euro Cup with tattoos chassis? Yes, it was Oscar Piastri, the biggest championship contender in Formula 1 this year. So a lot of great drivers, not only from Formula 1 but also from IndyCar or from hypercars, have the experience from these cars we are watching right now on the racetrack here in Brno. With 5.5 minutes to go, still the Hungarian driver Benjamin Berta leading the way with a decent gap, almost 7 seconds between Benjamin Berta and Sandro Zeller in second place. Behind these two drivers we do have another Swiss driver, Kurt Böhlen, and there is a gap of 6 seconds between Zeller in second place and Böhlen in third place. Behind them Benali and Shafat, Václav Shafat, the Czech driver, still in P5. And there is a gap of 0.7 of a second between Benali and Shafat. So in the second half of the race, Andrea Benali is starting to be quicker and quicker, and he's lapping a better times than Václav Shafat. That's the reality. Although last time around Václav Shafat has been much quicker by half of a second, but I believe it was because of some mistake that Andrea Benali has made on the racetrack. Still 0.7 of a second, or almost 0.8 of a second between Andrea Benali and Václav Shafat, so no striking distance for the Czech driver here. Behind Václav Shafat it is Dino Racero in P6, Stig Larsson in P7, Lee Cunningham in P8, Andrea Petropoulos in P9, and the Italian driver Enzo Centella is closing the top 10 at the moment. Of course, this weekend is full of open wheel racing, not only here in Brno but in general. And yes, for example, here in Brno we are going to be mostly focused on Formula 4 Central European Zone Championship, which is entering the closing stages of the season, and the championship fight is still on between the Czech driver Max Karhan and the Argentinian Gino Trappa. So we are looking forward many great battles between the Czech and Argentinian driver also here in Brno. Both drivers racing for Jensen Motorsport, so it is going to be a great fight between these two drivers for the championship title, although it must be said that actually Gino Trappa is in much better position for claiming the championship title, as he leads the championship with 266 points. So there is a gap of 35 points between Gino Trappa and Max Karhan, who has 239. But the chance is still here, and I believe that Max Karhan will do anything to go for it. Later today we expect the first race of Formula 4 Central European Zone Championship here in Brno. The first race starts at 11:25, also live on YouTube, so you are very welcome to join us for the Formula 4 race, which is going to be exciting because the Formula 4 Central European Zone Championship is officially FIA sanctioned racing series. But look at this battle now. Look at this battle on the racetrack. That's number one. So I believe this wasn't for the position. Yes, the number one is Benjamin Berta, the leading driver. So this wasn't a fight for a position. Benjamin Berta just lapped one of the drivers from the back of the field. So this might be a bit challenging for the leading Hungarian driver as he enters the traffic with 30 minutes to go. But still, there is nothing to worry about for Benjamin Berta. The gap is still over 5 seconds between him and Sandor Zeller, and remember, also Sandor Zeller has to deal with the traffic now, so possibly there will be no advantage for him. And we only have 5 seconds to go now. Only 5 seconds to go, so I believe this is the last lap of the race, possibly. This is possibly the last lap of the race, and it was a commanding performance done by Benjamin Berta here in Brno. He's a previous champion of Formula Division 2, so he knows what to do to be the quickest out on the track, and it's still really great to see his beautiful Delara F320 racing out there. It is the car which has been introduced in 2020, and as I said, this car has been introduced originally for Euro Formula Open Championship, but also for Super Formula Lights. So this car was also racing in Japan in the Japanese most prestigious junior single-seater series. So great history behind this car, and right now here we go on the main straight again with Benjamin Berta. Finishing the race now. Last chicane ahead of him to the left, now to the right, and we are on the main straight again, and the fans are ready to welcome Benjamin Berta here on the finish line. Benjamin Berta is the first winner of the Masaryk Racing Days 2025. Benjamin Berta wins the first race of Formula Division 2 here in Brno. After a commanding performance, absolutely great job done by the Hungarian driver Benjamin Berta. Sandor Zeller finishes the race in P2, just ahead of another Swiss driver, Kurt Bühlen. So first place for Benjamin Berta, second place goes to Sandor Zeller, the third place goes to Kurt Bühlen. Now in fourth place there is Andrea Benali ahead of the Czech local hero Václav Šafář, finishing the race in fifth place. Dino Racero in P6. Then we've got Stig Larsson in P7. The British driver Lee Cunningham finishing the race in P8. Enzo Centinela in P9. And after all, it is Andre Petropoulos finishing the race in P10. Right now he crossed the finish line. Behind him it is Oliver Kratsch in P11. Marcel Tobler, another Swiss driver, in P12. Then it is Enrico Milani finishing the race in P13. And we just have to wait a bit longer for the rest of the field, as the gaps were really large. There is another car crossing the finish line. That is Austrian driver Michael Fischer finishing the race in P14. Then behind him it should be Alexander Fritz, another Austrian, just ahead of another Swiss guy, Christoph Ledermann in P16. Behind Ledermann it is Ludwig Koronawitter, another Austrian racer. Then we have Søren Ziffel in P18, Luca Iannaccione in P19, Niklas Liffler in P20, and Grør Norbert in P21. So this was the first race of Formula Division 2 here in Brno. Thank you very much for joining us live, and remember, the race program here on Masaryk Circuit continues at 11:25 with the first race of Formula 4 Central European Zone Championship, and it will be the first part of the final fight for the championship title between the Czech driver Max Karhan and his Argentinian teammate from Jenser Motorsport, Gino Trappa. So join us later. Thank you very much.
Táblás, mert a másik